What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Want to trade but don't want a lot of complexity and risk?
Who do we got in here today? How is everybody? Hey, Robert. What's up, baby? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Good, 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 good. Who else we got in here? Rock and roll. Robert, how you been, man? How's your trading going? Hey, Pascal, how are you? Gern, what's going on? Oh, yeah. Good, 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 good. Good to see everybody. Hey, let's get some charts down. Let's take a look at what's going on in this market. I just got back home, so it's good to be home. You know, it's kind of one of those things. Let me tell you something about traveling. So, you know, a lot of people, they want to travel the world and see things and sightsee and all that stuff. It really isn't that fun. I'd rather be at home, playing on my computers, doing what I got to do. I hate sightseeing. So I like to travel to like just kind of meet some chicks from different places, have some drinks, eat some food. But I've never been one to sightsee and take in the sights. You know, I've never been that one. When we were in Spain, it was like my sister every day would be like, oh, we got to see this cathedral. And I'm like, you know, I think I'm going to go to the cafe, look at some charts, drink some wine, and hang out. You know, that's always been my thing. So Japan was awesome, but I'm glad to be home. I think the one thing too is, you know, I end up, when I go somewhere, I usually always go, I have like kind of a 3-week rule. I don't like going anywhere for less than 3 weeks. So, you know, I end up overstaying my welcome in a lot of these places. You just get a little bit tired after 3-4 weeks in place. You know, when we were in Spain, we were there for 2 months. You know, so it gets a little bit tiring sometimes, be hotel life in it, but that's the way it goes. So let's get down to some work and figure out what's going on. Rudy, good to see you. Look, these markets, obviously since the last time we spoke, you know, we had been looking for certain things to happen in the markets, right? Certain things that happen in the markets, and they are not happening. So the crypto market right now is in a downtrend, okay? If you had come 6-7 months ago, we'd be talking about, right, ripping 50% gains intraday. Now, you just know your only hope is to try not to lose money because the market's just been foobarred, and it's going to take a long time for the market to heal because right now, every single layer on the charts of Bitcoin is there's just going to be bag holder city, right? So that's where we've got to go with this. So we're going to need a lot of fresh buyers to come in and really help out the market. But let's take a look at the general market, and then we'll go from there. What's a shamook? All right, let me know when you guys can see the chat. And so Shirley, or for anybody that's new, this is, I use TradingView for my charts. And it's, I think out of all the, you know, once TC2000 gets cryptos, it'll be better. But, you know, for the moment, TradingView is the best. So you can see here what's kind of going down with Bitcoin. And that has been like, you know, it's tried to bounce a few times. You know, we had a little bit of a bounce here. But what you can see here is we've got ourselves a good old-fashioned 9 EMA rider. You guys would know what a 9 EMA rider is? That's a dirty down. That's a down and dirty rider, right? That it's a nasty rider. So right now we're just kind of trailing along the 9 EMA, and every time we hit it, we're essentially just getting faded off. And right now it's looking like, you know, at this point we might come back and break these lows on Bitcoin. And so if you're looking along this stuff, you got to be really careful. I wouldn't come in just yet and try to long this. There'd be two reasons I would potentially long it. If we started to hold this level right here and we started to have our EMAs start curling up, that would, you know, allow some basing and some of the resistance to really clear off. But like if you're trying to long this thing right now, there's a good shot this thing just breaks down this kind of this 6,000 level, and we could get this thing back down into the fives potentially down here. So Bitcoin is really, really tricky to time. Now, the thing is, you know, people always ask me, well, like, is this over for Bitcoin? Is it just going to die? And it's like, well, you know, you've got to use some common sense here. You know, at this level currently at 6,000, you know, that's just levels that we were back at in November. And, you know, when Bitcoin is hitting 6,000 in November, everybody's like, holy shit, like Bitcoin's at 6,000, right? And it looked like this, your chart, and it looked like this. And it was like, you know, the whole world was on fire. You know, when the chart looks like this. And guys, when charts are in uptrends like this, I mean, they're obviously much easier to trade because, you know, every day it goes up. You know, when you're coming down and every day it goes down, it's the psychology is different. But in the end, like, we're really just back to those November gains. So a handful of things that we need to see is, you know, either much lower prices or ideally, you know, we get without much movement, just a period of sideways consolidation to really let those moving averages kind of even out on this, where they start to flatten out. You know, that would tell us that the selling has subsided. And we really need to see that because at the moment, you know, anytime we think we have a bounce and we start to bounce for a couple of days, what's happening here is there are so many levels of resistance overhead. You guys see like all these levels of resistance, 9 EMA, 20 SMA, 50 SMA, 200. Then you have levels of price resistance here at 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, you know, the 12,000 range. So you have all these different levels of price resistance. You've got moving averages. So essentially what you have here is just a minefield of resistance. Now, guys, how would you get rid of a minefield of resistance? Well, if you think about Bitcoin, you know, everybody got really giddy in the Bitcoin. When it started going parabolic, people really got into the Bitcoin. You saw people really pile in. But now what's happened is, you know, it's bag holder city, right? It's bag holder city. There's so many people just holding the bag right now. And this is not a, you know, this is not the type of, you know, there are, like, I know people like to talk about whales and Bitcoin and smart money, and there really isn't. You know, this is a new type of trading atmosphere, and the market cap for coins is so small in general. There is no real big money in it just yet. And so there's just bag holder city, like pretty much every step of the way. And so what do bag holders do, right? You know, as price starts to pop up, you're just hit with relentless selling over and over and over and over. And that's where we're headed. That's where we're at with this thing. Now, how do you get rid and come through all this level of supply? Well, you need fresh buyers to emerge, right? You need fresh buyers to emerge. So currently, you know, with so many people that are just left holding the bag, there's not really any velocity of money happening, meaning people aren't like, okay, I'm going to sell Bitcoin, then pile into Ethereum. I'm going to sell Ethereum, pile into BNB. And you're not seeing it flip around like you was before. Right now, it's like just everything is just kind of evened out, and people are just holding on to this stuff. And so you're not really seeing that much velocity come in. And so we need fresh buyers to really emerge. And the only way you're really going to get fresh buyers to emerge is through probably some type of regulation of the markets, you know, that would allow like more astute investors or different types of investors to come in, like people like our parents that have been sitting on the sidelines going, what the fuck is this stuff? Well, you know, that would allow, you know, other types of people that want more protection and more security to come in. And so, you know, a whole group of hundreds of billions of dollars of fresh buyers, that would be something, you know, that would be something that would help soak up a lot of the supply of the big, heavy bags that are sitting over here. You know, at one time up here, you know, everybody was just holding Louis Vuitton bags. But now down here, right, we're just holding really soiled duffel bags. And so that's why, you know, that's where, you know, you kind of go with this is this, it's kind of it's in a tricky spot over here. But look, is Bitcoin going to die? Nope. It's still up quite a bit, you know, and, you know, frankly, I mean, if it was going to keep falling, we could just short our way all the way back down here. So it doesn't really matter if it dies or not. The other thing is that Bitcoin is, if you think about it, is like Bitcoin is cryptocurrency, first generation cryptocurrency. Now, I'm not sure what a pre-recorded live video is, Fonz, but hey, cool name. Pre-record. How can it be pre-recorded and live? How can it be pre-recorded and live? You can't. So where was I? Shit, I lost my train of thought here. But I wouldn't worry about it. We're still in the thousands. But Bitcoin is, right, this is cryptocurrency version 1. Like, you know how they had Web 1.0, then it's Web 2.0. Well, this is cryptocurrency version 1.0, right? You know, over the next coming years, you're going to see cryptocurrency version 2.0 and 3.0. And so there will be other coins that come out that probably take its place. You know, this is just the oldest and slowest. For all we know, this could end up being the MySpace of, you know, the market, and, you know, Facebook comes in a year or two later. We don't know, right? We don't know. But at the moment, the chart is just, what's the proper terminology? Canar, right? Ethereum, it looks even worse. Like it can't even hold, it can't hold nothing. So if you look at Ethereum, this is like just a classic bear flag also. This is, yeah, this is Friendster. This is not even MySpace, right? This is Ethereum's classic bear flag here too. So look, if this thing, and we were shorting this thing this morning, if this thing breaks below this 360s, you know, you could probably see a run back down into the, I don't even know, maybe 300 range on this thing. At this point, we are getting a little bit long in the tooth on the short side. Look, you know, it's been a 9 EMA dirty rider since 900. So at the end, you know, we have, you know, we're probably a little bit closer to the, you know, the bottom than the top. But in general, the short-term price action does not look good. Facebook, let me show, you know, I trade Facebook quite a bit in general. Somebody's asking about this. You know, it looks like it was popping today. If you were going to get this, I would have tried to get this closer to 150, then try to chase this thing up at 160. It's not at really that big of a discount. I mean, if you think about Facebook's drop from 190 to 160, it's only $30. You're not really getting a huge level of discount on it. When I'm trying to go counter trend on something that's been having bad news, I want to see a real, I want to see that real steepness of, you know, I want to see a real big flush. So I don't know. Facebook is going to be okay long term, but I don't know if it's necessarily anything that, you know, is cheap enough for me just yet. So Ethereum, nothing going here yet. Nothing going here yet. Litecoin. Now this is going to be the more dangerous one. I know more people are holding Litecoin bags than a lot of bags, because a lot of people are buying Litecoin because it's the cheapest one. And I mean, it's fallen from 400 down to 100. But you can see if we lose this level over here, then, you know, we'll probably see this thing in the 50, 60 range really quick. Now, the one thing to remember is, all right, just a year ago, this stuff was like a couple bucks. So, you know, you're really, I mean, you're still 50, you're up still like 5,000% from what it was about 1 year ago. It's essentially just giving back. This is a mania, right? This is a mania here, a parabolic mania. And, you know, now you've crashed. But, you know, out of the tech bubble came a lot of good tech companies. And out of the cryptocurrency bubble will come out a lot of interesting and long-term cryptocurrency coins. Not all of them will survive, but there will be some that do, and those will end up being the new leaders. And that's the same thing for those of you guys that traded during the tech bubble or were around following stocks, right? When the tech bubble died, yeah, all the shitty tech companies died, but out of it came a lot of good companies, right? And there were survivors. And those are the ones that, you hear about many years later. And so cryptos will probably be in a similar manner, but there's just nothing really to buy here unless you are really skillful and can go counter trend really quick. Like we take trades in our chat room to the long side, but like, yeah, I mean, these guys will tell you, like, you got to be so quick because like things bounce up for just a little bit and then boom, they just come back down. And so like, how can you long this, right? It would be really hard. You would have to be just a real ninja of a trader, which you can be. If you're a good trader, you could still kind of counter trend these things for, quick spikes. But otherwise, you're better off shorting this stuff till the market stabilizes. And then really out of all the major coins, the one that I like the best, that we make the most money on in our chat room pretty much always has been this BNB. We took a nice rip on this thing the last couple, couple times it's ran here. This is the one I'd probably keep an eye on. This is Binance coin. You could trade it on Binance. But out of all the coins, like this has been really my favorite trader because it can move like 30, 40, 50%. In a few days, and it's really, really liquid, and you can do it right off Binance in the USDT pairing. So it ends up being, really a good one. That's probably my favorite out of just a trader to go back and forth on. This has the most liquidity and it's got the best range. When you look at a market like this, right, there's only so much to talk about. You guys see those articles that Ripple offered Coinbase $100 million to get listed, and they got laughed off the stage, right? Most of these little coins like Ripple and stuff are all junk. So out of those, I mean, most of them will go back to 5-10 cents, but there will be a few that are left that should be good. And I don't know the fundamentals of a lot of these things, nor do I care, but a lot of them are hoes. Yeah, look, there could be a shake and bake. We're closer to the bottom than the top. If you use common sense terminologies, right? If you go from 20,000 to 5,000, I mean, you're closer to the bottom than the top, right? If you're in Ethereum and you're at 300 versus 1,400, you're closer to the bottom than the top, right? And same thing with Litecoin and the Ripple, the Crippler, and so many of these. You've given back 90% of the gains. And so that's where we have to always use, common sense. Right before a market rebounds or things look good, it always looks awful. I've noticed this in the stock market, and I've noticed this with individual stocks and also now with coins. Right when the turn starts to happen, things will look awful, meaning that nobody will want to touch the market. The news will even be bad. It'll be getting even worse. And as that's happening, you start to see the turn, and then it's kind of, off to the races. That's usually where you get the capitulation, right? That where like people have just given up, and that's when you see the turn. And you see that in the stock market all the time. Like you'll see a stock that's just been hit. I saw this with Netflix 3-4 years ago. It had dropped 50-60% a few years ago when it got hit for raising fees and stuff. And it dropped so far. And then it just sat around for a while. And the news got worse and worse. People say, no, this was a fad. This was this. The news got worse and worse, but it stopped going down. And the news kept getting worse and worse. And then you know what happens? It's just a tiny spark of anything can set it off. And I think that's probably where, cryptocurrencies goes, is that it'll look bad and everybody will be piling in with the I told you so's, the shorts, You'll start breaking, levels of support, but then after a while, you won't be breaking levels of support. There's none, it's just come down so far. And then what you'll start to see is, once everybody's really bearish on it and it just stops going down, that's when you'll start to see the rebound happen. Bottoms are very rarely events, meaning like you don't see V-shaped bottoms really ever in a market where you're just coming down and then boom, you're off to the races. Bottoms are usually events where you're coming down and you spike up and you come down, and it takes time to kind of build out that base and that bottom. And those fits, those pops and drops, that's what makes the bottoms, because every time it pops, people get excited and then they get the rug pull. And then it pops again and people get excited, they jump in and get the rug pull. But you're doing it near the lows. And what'll end up happening is at some point, right, people stop believing in it, you just even out, and that's when you can really get a nice run. So one of the things, like when you're looking at something like a Bitcoin or something like that, is think of it like this. When you have like all this level of resistance above, you have moving averages, and I know a lot of these people think about like Fibonacci's, and you have price resistance, and right, all this stuff. So you got all these levels of resistance, and so it's hard to pop. Because like anytime you run into one support, you pop, you just run into another resistance. It's a huge clusterfuck, right? It's like everywhere you go, you're fucking dodging grenades, because when you're in a trendless environment, that's what happens. But the easiest way to kind of get rid of all of this resistance and all of this stuff is to really just go sideways for like a period of time. Like I'll show you the easiest way to do it. We're like, see like an XMR a couple months ago. See what happens like when you go sideways, but you don't have too many big pops and drops, but you go sideways in a tight consolidation. What will essentially happen is your moving averages will start to converge and just roll up on top of each other. But like what will happen is all your resistance points will get digested into one area, so that just in one day you can basically break out of all of it. And then like you're in a really supply-free zone. And that's where that would be really the ideal situation, for like a Bitcoin or something like that. And you only need about a month to do it, right? Where you just go sideways and chill. And if Bitcoin could just learn to fucking chill, then that we could see that. So like if you saw this for sideways, just go for a month and everybody's given up on the market, what you'll see over that month is all these moving averages will coil up right up on top of it, and you'll build it similar to that XMR, and then you can just boop, pop right over, and you're good to go. Oh, hold on here. Looks like this Ethereum looks like a potential short right now for like a little day trade. You can see here kind of cracking this trend line. So you can see with Ethereum over here, right? You got this kind of bear flag action over here. And what's happening over here is whoop. Right, you're starting to break down that trend line. You may get this thing back down into 360s soon enough. Yeah, and you're not seeing those bigger 50% moves anymore. That is true. So somebody's saying, I'm guilty of that too. I got so used to having the bigger moves. I did this even last week. Like I had some trades I was up 5-10% on, and then like you don't take the profit and then they just go negative, right? It's like you got to keep taking them because those bigger moves aren't there. When you go counter trend, you don't have big moves, right? Counter trend trading, you get quicker pops. And when you're trending up, then yeah, the up moves are huge, right? But when you're trending down, the moves to the upside are going to be really, really limited. But I will say, and Eric, who's answered the questions, and Josh is saying, while we've been in Japan for the last month, I mean, we talked to probably 30 to 40 companies that were startups that were building blockchain technologies, that were going to have ICOs, that were making really interesting tech, and they were like youngsters, and there was excitement. There were hedge fund guys and like big money guys there with us that were looking to fund projects. And so even though the market right now, because it got so frothy, is coming back, there is money coming into those early stage startups, and people want to invest in cool technologies. Myself, even, like, we talk to so many, to try to get in more on the ground floor of some of these things and get our hands dirty, because there's a lot of interesting ones. I mean, we talked to some companies that did some really interesting stuff with blockchain and all of that type of stuff. Hell, we even talked to this one company that did VR. So they had their own VR world, right? And so then you buy space in their VR world, so you can like lease space or whatever. So like somebody like me, I do classes, right? So I would have I'd buy like a class building, and I would have my whole online university inside this class building. So my student would put on, VR goggles, walk into the studio, and they would learn class from me like I was there using VR. And they would have to pay, right, with the cryptocurrency token, right? So maybe it's like 100 tokens to watch my class or whatever. But they had like cool stuff. You could go to like other stores in the VR world, and like you could get like even like a body scan image, and you could go into like Saks Fifth Avenue, and you could go into Saks Fifth Avenue, and like they already had the technology ready to go. You could go into Saks Fifth Avenue, and like you could try on clothes. And you could try on clothes, so you'd have like really nice clothes that were fitted. I thought that was really cool. But they've had like they've had kind of VR companies like that around. But why I really liked this one was this fucking shit was realistic. So then you're walking in the VR world, right? And most of the world is still getting built out. They have parts of it like universities and like games and stuff. They had VR porn. I shit you not. So like you can walk in. So like the guy puts on the thing, he gives me the hand things, and you can walk into like a titty bar, and there's naked chicks everywhere. And like you can slap them on the butts and do all sorts of stuff. And it was wild. It was pretty realistic. Like he made these chicks look like, I mean, at that point, you're never leaving the VR world. It was wild. And then I was feeling a little bit weird because then you got this Japanese guy that's like, come on. Touch her butt. And I'm like, whoa, like, I'm going to touch her butt, relax. And this guy, he was really getting into it. He's like, come on, slap it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to slap it. But man, it felt really realistic. So there's like some interesting stuff that, you could do in there. And even like they had like a bunch of content creators, like somebody that wants to, be a guitar teacher, right? You can put your classes on there in the VR world. You can go into, you could go into a studio, right, and learn the guitar, right? And so that guy would get paid with tokens as the content creator. So it was kind of cool. And there were a whole host of other little, the whole host of other companies and stuff that we really liked. But so I'm still bullish on cryptos because there's people inventing and coming out with cool shit. Young people, right? Young, smart people, and there's money, all that stuff. So I wouldn't despair too much about, the market. The main thing is don't be a bag holder. Don't be a hodler. Hodlers are losers. Let me just tell you something about hodlers. First of all, they didn't even spell hold right. That should tell you right off the bat that hodlers are stupid, right? And then in general, cryptocurrency traders themselves are not that smart, right? I mean, people talk about walls. There's no such thing as walls in cryptocurrency, sell walls. Imagine like you could see on some shitty exchange, big sellers come in and that could make you win or lose on a trade. That's retarded, right? Hodling is stupid. The term walls, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing in trading that actually works for that. And there are no real whales in cryptocurrency. The market is so small, and there's like maybe 10 good cryptocurrency traders in the world. you're in the presence of one of them. The rest of them we'll be building them out in our chat room day by day. So I wouldn't worry too much. I think we're still in the ground floor. I would say inning 2 of a long game. Inning 1 was getting this thing out to the public. Inning 2 is now weathering the storm and coming in. And by the way, right, you can short on Kraken. You can do a lot of stuff. If you're sitting there holding the bag on some stuff, okay, so you're holding the bag. Why you're holding the bag, I don't know. It's a lot easier. See, and patience is a stupid thing. And as my mentor, Paul, always tells me patience, Kunal, patience. But patience is a retarded thing in trading. And the reason is this. If I have something at 50 and it goes down to 20, and I say I'm going to be patient, my day will come. Well, how stupid is that? You can have it at 50, you can get out at 48, and you can rebuy it at 10, and then you can be patient the whole way up. That's patience. That's real patience. Waiting for the right moment to pounce. Patience, being stubborn is not patient. And that's where I get a lot of, from my students, like talking to them, it makes me burn whatever little hair I have is you're not being patient. You're being stupid. When you're just sitting there praying for rain, that is not patience. Real patience is getting out when you're supposed to get out and then waiting for that right moment to get back in. Like I've got some tickers I've been watching like this LISC. It's not investing versus trading because investing is about timing too. I got this thing LISC I've been watching. But for months, I've been staring at. But I know I can only buy it at $3 or $4. That's where the patience comes in. Because I know that thing at 30 was a dog. I knew it at 20 it was a dog. I knew it at 15 it's a dog. I knew at 12 it's a dog. And even now, it's a dog, right? I got to wait till $3, $4. And that's the way it goes. Dollar cost averaging is a waste of money. Why average if you can time it perfectly? And that's the way we've always got to go with this is that, there's no point of wasting hard-earned money hoping for a market to turn around. Be active. Be active. Be proactive rather than just reactive and praying because it's your hard-earned money. You want to make sure that you're always protecting yourself, number one, with risk, but also waiting for those prime time moments. We've got to have capital ready to deploy when that moment's right? When that moment's right, and that'll come. But on the other side of things, where I was going with this is for some of you guys that are holding the bags on these things, go in, open up an account at Kraken or somewhere else, and take day trades to the short side. Take short-term swing trades. That income will hedge essentially the bag holding that's going on in some of the other names. And that's what I would even do if I had like longer-term investments, right? Say I got 50,000 longer-term investments. Well, good. As the market is just free falling around, right? You're taking shorts for day trades and just building out income. And then what you can do is as you're taking that income, take it, and then you can kind of average out of some of your positions if that's, the MO. And that's an easy way. People do that in the stock market too. It's a good way of kind of hedging things out. Go the opposite way. Take those income trades, then put them back into your longer trades, and then they'll start to even out, and all of a sudden you'll start to kind of move around your averages a lot. I like Tim Sykes. He's been a buddy of mine. And frankly, I owe him because if he didn't do what he did, right, becoming so loud and out in the public, it opened up probably the doors for like businesses like mine, right? He kind of brought trading businesses, made them popular. So I owe. Yeah. And he's in a different stage of his life, right? He's probably not trading as much, and he's doing his charities and traveling and trading a little bit, and he's got a lot on the plate. Good, good, good. Anybody got any charts they want me to look at? Let's take a look. I saw a few requests here. Let's take a look here. Boom, 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 boom. And in general, guys, I always look at charts in the USD pairs for the simple reason that I like to calculate kind of what they look like, you know, before we even start adding in the Bitcoins and stuff like that. A bunch of people ask me about Lisk, and this is something that I've been watching personally myself too. You know, but I need the thing to get lower. You know, I need this thing to get lower. You know, I was thinking kind of maybe $3, something like that, you know, could be a decent spot on this. In general, this just is basically the Bitcoin chart, right? It's not necessarily has anything to do with this company. It's more of the Bitcoin chart itself, right? It looks pretty similar to Ethereum or Bitcoin. So in the end, it's kind of, it's going to look just like that. You know, I almost took this XVG on my Bittrex the other day. XVG is interesting because you can buy this on Bittrex. You know, you can buy this on Bittrex in the USDT pair. It's obviously very cheap, but you've got kind of like a rounding bottom over here, and you're starting to break out some levels of support. So I wouldn't chase this thing up here, but I'd see how it acts on that first dip. You know, it ends up, you know, it could be a rounding pattern. It's good to see some of these things start to round. It's good to see some of these things start to move. You know, we need to see some speculation come back in the market, right? Some speculation come back in the market and go with that. Man, everybody loves this red one. What's a bunny? Let me see. I'm not familiar with bunny. Yeah, this is another one of them kind of penny cryptos. It's following just the general market. You know, it's going to take some time to even out, or news. You know, that could be something. I did not do that well in the stock market. I should have. I had the right opportunities, that's for sure. I forgot. I mean, yeah, $300. Nothing crazy. You know, I was off my game a little bit. The market gapped down, and I was low. I was hitting the shorts at the open, and the market obviously reversed. The market finished up quite a bit. So I was caught. I was caught one way, and I was able to catch the reverse. I bought this TQQ, which is the ETF for the NASDAQ, 3X ETF for the NASDAQ, to kind of erase my losses. But, you know, I didn't necessarily, I didn't play to the full potential of what I needed to do, obviously. A little bit disappointed in myself with it, but I'll get it fixed. Yeah, and that was the thing. There was a lot of stocks that really ripped today, like Tesla and stuff that I had been watching. You know, and I missed the. You know, I missed them a little bit. Hey, Trump, would you recommend Ross of Warrior Trading? You know, I don't know much about him, Trumpster. You know, if I was going to go with any trading educator that's not myself, I would go with Investors Live of Investors Underground. He's like a super good dude. He's like a real trader. You know, I would say he's a better trader than I am. Like, he's good. And he's a nice guy to boot, you know, so that'd be probably where I go. That's probably where I would go with it. And he's got a good strategy. He longs and shorts, you know, he trades more liquid names. He's just good. He's got a good group of dudes around him. So, you know, I would go, you know, I haven't taken any of Ross Cameron's or anybody else's courses, but, I definitely say Nate is probably the best. I've never heard of live stream trading. I've met everybody that's anything. I've met pretty much every single person, any trading guru. I've had my business for 10 years, so I met them all, but I'm not familiar with live stream trading. In terms of, so somebody just asked me, do I hold any investments right now? I only hold a small legacy position left in a company that, an ICO that I had invested in, moons ago. I got I got this. So I was a long-term investor in this company on Unicoin, but I'm almost out of this thing on the big spike. So Unicoin, my mentor, Rahul, who I started Bulls on Wall Street with me, he owns this company. And, I got into this company on his behest, and it was, it ended up doing, so I got this thing of, I think the ICO's at like 20 cents. It ran to like $2. I sold out. I had 1 million shares of this thing. I had 1 million shares of this thing. So it ran up to $2. So I dumped out of most of mine, and I kept probably like 1/4 to 1/5 of my shares, which now I'm just kind of, it's just a legacy position. I mean, it's come all the way down. And this thing's, 90% off its lows or whatever. But he's my mentor, and, I had to keep some legacy shares, not because I care about it as an investor or anything like that, but, it's my mentor's company. So I got to keep a couple shares. But I have been actually loading back into a little bit of these things near these lows. Not much, a couple 100,000 shares. I mean, it's at 10, 15 cents now. But that was actually the biggest trade of my life, having 1 million shares of this thing. It went from 0.27 sats to, 0.0016. I mean, it was flying. Let me see. What are the tickers you're looking at for the Canadian weed stocks? So I know there's Weed TO, which does not look that good. I don't know. This one I'd probably stay away from. SN. So this is an oil company. This one's in a downtrend too. I'd probably stay away from SN. It looks okay because it's kind of rounding, but not really my cup of tea. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you. ACB? I can't find it. I don't think I got an ACB. So Roland, to answer your question, yeah, I don't have any investments at the moment. The main investments I'm looking to do now is pre-ICO. So if I'm looking at longer term stuff, right now, see what's happening. This is where the edge is. Right now, what's happening is because though so much money flew out of the cryptocurrency market, you can go into a lot of these companies that want to do ICOs, but they can't even get to that point. You can get in pre-ICO and really write your own terms, but have some control over the company, right? Help them out with their messaging, their marketing. I talked to a couple young CEOs that had, blockchain companies about just showing them how to pitch, like how to give proper presentations because, these nerds, right? They come in and they're trying to raise money, right? And do a pitch and they're like, hello. Decentralized blockchain will change the world. I love blockchain so much. I think decentral. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me, right? Get up there and let's make some moves. So I was, working with some of them on really doing, some of that stuff. So I think that's where the edge is going to be for me is getting in even before they're listed on these exchanges, coming in and really adding in my expertise on some of these things. Yeah, this is a tough market to trade in, not just in cryptos, all in stocks too. The volatility is frankly giving me some heartburn too. Anybody else got any questions? I know there's a lot of them came in so fast. I didn't see them all. Israeli IPO. So one of my buddies is actually opening an exchange in Tel Aviv. My old protege, Daniel, he's an Orthodox Hebrew. And I mentored him in business, but not in stocks actually. And so he's actually, him and his partners are starting exchange in Israel. Pretty proud of him. He's never traded before though. Hey Harsh, what's up, baby? Let me take a look at the twatter. Hold on. I've never heard. Where would I find BKFFFP? Never even heard of these things. BKFP. I've got a BKFFP. MMEX is a hoe. This thing is a hoe for sure. I stay away from stuff like this. It's not even moving, right? So for me, I don't like stuff like that. I want trenders. Spot is really tricky too, man. This thing is like, who wants to buy an IPO that's already at $100? They boosted this thing up too high. Ooh, I touched it in its naughty spot. Yeah, this one, I think you're going to have to watch this thing trade and see like kind of what happens with it before you get involved. Hey, Chris, good question, guys. Chris is asking how far are the regulations out, in cryptos in the U.S.? Look, the government moves a lot slower. We know that the government moves slow. It always moves slower than even the slow, doesn't it? And so that's where the real worry is that gridlock. Half of the government doesn't even know what crypto is, right? And the other half probably has heard the buzzword. And then part of it, the other portion probably wants some tax revenues. Who knows if there's even enough tax revenues to make a dent, right? Not in the debts that we have. So, it could be a slow thing, or it could be any day, right? We don't know if they're already working on something, or, if this is like just something that just came into their heads and now they're thinking about working on something. Because if they're just thinking about potentially working on something, well, the government moves pretty slow. But if it's already been in the works, then, that helps a lot. That's true, Fonz. Hey, and by the way, it doesn't have to be the U.S. that leads the way for regulation. There's just as much money getting traded in crypto in Japan and China and South Korea. If the Asian companies come together and they come up with some smart regulation, then probably what'll happen is we'll just copy most of it. You know what I mean? And that would actually be the best blueprint. Do you trade ETFs and futures? Yeah. I haven't been trading the NASDAQ futures lately, but last summer that was my tour de jour. Yeah, maybe Wall Street doesn't want to enter, Chris, right? I mean, who knows? Wall Street's going to do whatever they want anyways. They don't really worry about rules. I've met a million guys that run hedge funds and shops and all over. They don't really care too much about rules. If they think they can make money, they're going to try to make money. And most rich people know, right? If the rule, once they're doing something, I mean, they can just write the rules. I mean, our whole government's just littered with lobbyists from banks anyways. No penny stocks for me. No small caps for me either, for the most part. Yeah, I just trade momentum stocks for the most part. So it could be a $5 stock, $10 stock, $50 stock, doesn't matter. Anybody else got any questions? I do got to get going in a couple minutes. It's good to have everybody in here. Fonz, if you know some hot chicks, you can definitely come. I'm just messing. Where are you from? I feel like you're like from some type of Bavarian country, which would be something I would be open with visiting. Yeah, I still got the same number, 517-974-1480 myself. Hey, Fonz, you know, by the way, I have some students of mine that are in the Netherlands, a couple in Finland and all over Denmark. Hey, Trumpster, is the market, guys, that's a good question. Is the market making false breakouts? Not really. I mean, the market's been doing what it's done for 100 years, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Breakouts have always been a 50-50 shot. I've never seen any type of breakout strategy that's really more than 50-50. The key to breakouts has always been just losses small, gains bigger. In terms of your question, like tricks about algo trading, you know, for the most part, the algos are going to be in really those bigger stocks, your Bank of Americas, you know, some of them bigger names. So you're not going to really even come into it too much, like HFTs and stuff like that. But for the most part, the algos have helped the market. It's added a little bit more volatility to some of the slower names. So now you can trade like the heavier float stuff like Facebook and NVIDIA that like normally a billion share float stock would be untradeable. But now with the algos, you know, in these things, they've got a lot more range. And now like you could trade like a lot of those slower type stocks and still make some money. And remember, all an algo is just a program that says buy at this moving average, sell when you get overbought, right? It's just a list of conditions. So I wouldn't think of algos as anything really too smart. Nothing to be intimidated by. Hey, anytime, Irvin. Good. It's great to see so many new people this week. Guys, feel free to email me anytime. That's my personal email. I typed that in myself just now. You can text me or whatever. You know, anytime you guys want to chit-chat about stocks or cryptos, that's what I do all day. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week. I know a lot of you guys are in the chat room, so I'll be in the chat room for the rest of the night trading. We'll see if you know, we got any day trades or whatever pop up. All right, peace.